Worldwide. You're not here by chance. Each and every one of us are here by divine appointment. We heard the call and we answered. And for our viewing audience, that you tuned in at this moment, because this is the moment that makes a difference. That as we live our life and these amazing opportunities that present themselves, because I believe that life is an amazing opportunity, that we have a light within us. We are acknowledging this morning that the star in the east beckons, that each of us is that wise person. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10 states this, that in the quiet and in the energy of that moment, that we are with our God self. In that stillness, there is only God. God is all there is, and all there is God. Whatever we choose, what name we put on God, whatever feels comfortable for us, whether it's First Cause or Father, Mother, Yahweh, Jehovah, it matters not, but to acknowledge that which is within us, within each and every one of us, is greater than that which resides in the world of conditions, appearances, and effects, because this is the outer world of illusion. The real world is within us. So that's when someone says, well, in the real world, and they point outside, no, that ain't it. The real world is within us. It lives and moves and has its being right where we are. The thing we're looking for, we're looking with. Life is the mirror of both king and slave. And it's so interesting. We were in a conversation about people listening to lower vibratory frequencies, kind of gossip and vibrating to that energy level. But someone who is above it does not listen to that. In fact, when anyone brings something to me, I always say, that is not my experience of them. And I do not go there. Someone on Facebook wrote me and said, he's a politician, and he said, do you ever have people sucking up to you and you know they're not real? And I wrote back to him and said, I never go there. I don't ever second guess or conjecture what someone's motives are. I take them right where they are. Because to go there is to place a judgment outside of ourselves. If the star in the east beckons, that illuminatory energy beckons us, then the light penetrates the darkness comprehendeth it not, and shadows flee away forever and ever and ever. There is only the light, the illuminating light. And when we need to learn and grow and unfold, we will call in the experiences that will allow us to do that. We can do it, as Ernest Holmes said, through intuition and inspiration. Great way to learn, isn't it? I want to just be still and know and let it all come to me. Or the latter, by bitter experience. And he said, and most of the time it's the latter, that it gets our pain, gets our attention. The prophet said, what is your pain? But the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. So today, as we're opening to that light, we're acknowledging that the light is all there is. And I love what Joseph Sheehan said on Wednesday Night Live, Spirit, Mind, and Body Connection. He said, there's no such thing as darkness. You cannot go in and turn on the dark. There is only light. And so there's greater experiences of light. So if the light is at a low vibratory frequency, you can turn it up within yourself. Some people are this amazing spotlight. And everywhere they go, they create energy and aliveness and beauty and joy. And joy being the most infallible sign of the presence of God. And other people go and they just don't feel a part of things, and they look outside of themselves and they live in that reality. But it's all created through our thoughts. And what I love about that star in the east, and how the wise men, in this beautiful, beautiful Eastern legend of the wise men who saw the star in the east, they mounted their camels. And we know that in the far east, camels are sacred, are completely sacred. There was a beautiful story about in Tibet where they take the milk of the camels and they take it and they throw it on the mountain. And they do a blessing with the camel milk because the camel is sacred. It is an energy of not only transportation, but of company and relationship, and also giving of its milk. And I never knew that until we saw The Weeping Camel, which is a beautiful film that was actually here at the Camelot. And so the camels, they took their camels and they followed that star in the east. So it's interesting, the beast of burden, that we handle our animal nature. We all have an animal nature. Each and every one of us has an ego that rears up. And we can thank it for sharing and tell it to take its place, or we can follow the ego, right? And what is ego? It's ego. That no longer serves me. And I release that. And to feel the joy in life is to recognize that that light is forever shining. What did Jesus say? Don't hide your light under a bushel. Let it shine so brightly and brilliantly that everyone and anyone who comes within your energy field will be healed and uplifted in your presence. Don't hide your light under a bushel. Don't get caught up in the everyday stuff. Don't need to judge outside of yourselves, but to recognize the power and the presence that is within you and how beautiful you really are. And in Norway, it was amazing because the energy was so, I felt it was so high and so beautiful. And our commission for the Nobel Peace Prize and our candidate, we needed to speak to the director of the Nobel Peace Prize Institute. And one of our commission had written to the Nobel Peace Prize Institute, and they said, we're closed the month of December. She said, I don't think we should go. They're going to be closed. Now, I've already got my ticket. I've got where I'm going to stay. You know, I've shared it with the other commission members. And I said, you know, I appreciate that, but every no is preceded by a yes. And so I'm going to get the lay of the land. If I have to go back in January to represent this, that's all right with me too. I've never been to Norway. I'll have a wonderful time while I'm there. And so she wrote back and she said, I am not going to let you go alone. So she got on board, and then another commission, Professor Miroslav from Croatia, rearranged his schedule at the University of Zagreb in Croatia so he could be there. He got there the day before. He went to the Nobel Peace Prize Institute. He got the lay of the land. He met with this woman, and she kind of, she was very nice, and so he was in the library just to feel the energy. Because remember, all life is energy. Where thought goes, energy flows. Do we really get that? That we are like this amazing energy system, and you can sense energy. And so I said, we're going to go on Thursday. And we went, and Professor Miroslav said, no, I'm going to wait across the street and get an espresso because I don't want to appear too aggressive. So you two go in and you see, you know, see what you can see, so to speak. So I go in and I said, I'd like to see the director of the Nobel Peace Prize Institute. She says, well, he's on the phone now. And I said, fine, I'll wait. So we sat down, and I was just absorbing the energy, and it's a very beautiful building, and you can just feel throughout the, you know, all of the Nobel Peace Prize recipients upstairs received this amazing award. And I walked around, and I meditated on Mandela's photograph. This was the day that he actually passed. And I thought of his quote, it's only impossible until you do it. Then it's possible. And I thought about this great man, and when I was in South Africa and I was lecturing there, and I could, you know, I requested to see him, and I had lunch with the mayor, and he said that couldn't be done, but I sensed this energy. And then I saw Barack Obama's Nobel Peace Prize, and I, you know, just did a little prayer over that, and I was just there feeling energy. And then the director got off the phone, and she said, oh, he's off the phone. And so we went in, and I said, hello, I'm Dr. Sharon Stroud from the United States of America. I've come here to present our candidate for the Nobel Peace Prize 2014. And these are our papers. He went over the papers. He said, these are beautiful. He said, oh, why didn't Professor Miroslav sign? I said, because he's across the street having an espresso. He didn't want to appear too aggressive. And he's from Croatia. He goes, oh, my wife's, she's a Croat. Oh, I like him already. So I said, I'll go right across the street. I said, Professor, come back. You need to sign your letter. You forgot. He goes, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So he comes back, he signs his letter, and he said, you know what, you've all come such a long way. Let me give you the private tour. And we went through the whole 3 stories of the Nobel Peace Prize Institute, and the energy and the you could just feel and the recollections of all the beautiful people. And he said, no one really knows this story, because I've shared with you throughout the weeks about Albert Nobel and how he was the inventor of explosives, and accidentally read his obituary. He was in it. You know, George Burns says, I get up every morning, I read the obituaries. If I'm not in it, I have breakfast. So he's reading the obituaries, and he's in it. And he's going, oh my God. And he's reading, oh yes, this man, Albert Nobel, he killed the most people in the least amount of time and invented explosives. And he thought, he was horrified that this is what he would be remembered by. And I had shared this with you a couple weeks ago. So that's why he instituted the Nobel Peace Prize for chemistry, for science, for mathematics, and he had not created one for peace. And so this man named Dag, D-A-G, very Norwegian and Swedish, he said, no one knows the story, but he was in a relationship with a woman he loved very much. And she looked at all these Nobel Peace Prizes, and she said, why isn't there one for peace? And he said, well, and she said, and you're a pacifist. The man that invented explosives was a pacifist. And he did it for reasons of mining and creating railroads, and not to explode and to hurt people. So he thought about it, he meditated, and because of her inspiration, the director said, the Nobel Peace Prize came into being, and she was Norwegian. So all the other Nobel Peace Prizes in chemistry, science, mathematics, whatever, are in Stockholm, Sweden. But the one for peace is in Oslo for the love of a woman. And I said, I absolutely adore this story. I said, I got God bumps. He goes, oh, what is that? And I said, well, we believe that we're co-creators with God. And so, you know, we're not geese, so we don't really get goosebumps. We get God bumps. We're co-creators, created in the image and likeness of God. So I always say God bumps. And we had this amazing exchange, gave us this amazing tour. And when we got ready to leave, I told him about when I was in South Africa and I went to extend my hand to the mayor, and he said, oh, no, no, I want to cuddle. And I said, oh, in our country we call a cuddle a hug. So I said, I'm going to hug you. And he's just this great big Norwegian man and just adorable. And he said, oh, I love hugs. And we parted, and then Dr. Elizabeth said, from Amsterdam, she says, I could never have done that. I could never have done that. And I said, in America, we share our feelings. From America, we share our emotions, maybe a little too much. I said, but we share who we are energetically. And I got his energy. And I was so thrilled that my star in the east guided me to Norway, to this experience, that he said, your candidate is accepted. He will be for the up and running for 2014. What an amazing personage this man is. And we were just so thrilled. And I went outside and it started snowing. And I went, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And the Norwegians are coming over and they go, you must be from America. I said, I'm from America. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. My candidate was accepted. I'm feeling really good about this. And I said, let's go celebrate. And we went to the opera and saw the Nutcracker at the new opera house in Oslo, Norway. It's just an amazing structure. We went to the fjords on the cruise, and we did all these amazing things. And then we went back to the Institute for the interview, the CNN interview of the Nobel Peace Prize winners for 2013 were those watchdogs that are disbanding all countries with chemical weaponry. And I said, hallelujah. that as we allow this peace that passes all understanding, as we move in our global village, as we acknowledge that each and every one of us, we are the light of the world. Let your light so shine before men and women that they see who you are and they glorify your Father in heaven. Where is heaven? It is within us. Heaven is a state of mind. Hell is a state of mind. And I was reminded of when someone was on a tour in Greece, and she was from Texas, and she looked down this great volcano, and she goes, "My God, I think it's hell." And the tour guide said, "My goodness, you Americans have been everywhere." Right? Exactly. So as we come together to acknowledge this light in the east is within us, that the Star of Bethlehem is the place within the crown chakra, that we make that journey in cosmic consciousness together, that we acknowledge that all paths that lead to God are good, that right now, somewhere in the world, a Jew really is saying his prayers, has lit the Hanukkah candles for all to see, and to the recognition that the gifts are the gifts of the Spirit, that it's a wonderful ritual that when we have our gift giving, we're giving to that Christ presence. We're bringing the gifts as the Magi of old to recognize the Christ presence within each of us. The Holy I Am presence that absolutely acknowledges that we are one. And in this oneness do we live and move and have our being. And that we all have things that go on in our lives. And we have our moments, but we are supported. We are loved. That we open the space for each other to realize your experience is my experience. And my experience is your experience. And that we embrace in this knowledge of our oneness that we are all part of the human family. That we all bleed. And I mean, that blood is red energetically. And that we are all part of this divine thread of life, of love, of truth, of beauty. We stand in that light, and we acknowledge everything that no longer serves us is dissolved from our life, returned to its native nothingness from whence it came. Jesus said, "Bless those that curse you and say all manner of evil against you for his name's sake." It's not easy to bless those that are cursing you and gossiping about you and saying things behind your back. But you know, I had an experience this week just to do that, to bless someone who has just been unbelievable and totally off in left field. And as I looked at this email and I meditated on it, I sent love, peace, and I sent such an overwhelming feeling of oneness, that whatever someone is acting out, every loving thought is true and everything else is a call for healing or help, regardless of the form it takes. So today, let's follow that star in the east that is within us and beckoning us to shine the light on the darkness, to make the crooked places straight, and to know this day in whom we live and move and have our being. So I greet you, not quite as the world greets you, but with profound esteem and recognition that we are what? Going higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you.